Hi you guys, my name is LaToya and welcome to my crafty space. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you all how to create a stamp binder, aka a stamp catalog. I have 6 stamp binders and I created these over a course of 10 months after stamping out over 2,000 stamp sets. To me, there's just something so nostalgic about a print catalog, and now that I've created my own for my hobby, I've fallen even more in love with my items. They're easier to access, it's just so nice. And these old print catalogs, it's just so cool to see how I actually fell in love with the item. But what's super awesome is that if I do happen to come across something that I did purchase, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, I can go to my catalog, open up my stamp binder. So this is chocolate. Chocolate to me would be in Valentine's Day. So I brought out my binder. That's red. And that's because I associate Valentine's Day and Christmas with the color red. And then I can flip to where chocolate would be. And then I can actually see this stamp that I wanted so desperately. I mean, I purchased it. I can see how it actually stamped out. And then I can go ahead to G2-31 and pull that stamp. And now I have this stamp that I can play with, make a card, and then it can go right back into the exact location where it belongs. And I don't have to worry about it getting lost. It is such an awesome process, you guys. Now, in addition to showing you guys how to create a stamp binder, I'm going to be entering some new stamps into my stamp binders. After 10 months of labor and work creating these books, I deserve these items. Oh wait, this isn't all of them. Now, to me, the process of putting the new items into the binders, it's easy, it's quick. It's because I put so much work into the foundation. Me taking this item, stamping it out, and then putting it in the book, it is so seamless. And I know because I've already done it. Now, like I said, these are some of the items that I did gift myself for all of my hard work. There are some items in here that are oldies, but they're new to me, and that's all that matters. At the end of the day, our craft stashes need to be made of what we love, not other people. So like I said, me putting a lot of time and attention into the foundation, creating these books, has paid off greatly. Now, I want to preface with saying not everyone needs to be like me. You do not need to have such a strict deadline or even catalog this way. If watching my videos motivates you to do your digital cataloging, by all means, go that route. I chose this route because I love tangible things. I'm not a digi stamper, so I'm not like sizing, resizing things, printing things out. I would probably own so many stamps if I went the digital route. I think that route would just make me more consumed with like paralysis by analysis. So I just made a decision to not engage. I also set a hard timeline for myself. I didn't expect it to take 10 months. I thought it would only take a few, but I knew I wanted to get it done before my registered nurse program starts. I'm doing a transition program from LPN, which is what I am right now, a licensed practical nurse, to RN, which is registered nurse. I'm going to be working throughout that. So my time, again, is going to be super limited. I was also thinking, what about when I have babies? There's no downtime with being a mom. You are physically taxed, mentally taxed, and if I just wanted to escape and create for a little bit, it just makes sense to just come into an area that I love and be able to get at things in the simplest way possible and actually come out happy. That's what I'm hoping for anyways. I personally just deeply desired to have this part of my hobby conquered so I can reap the benefits of having more time to create with less effort and have greater access to my stash without leaving a mess. As I said, I have a small home. I want to keep my craft area small also. I don't want to be overwhelmed with goods. I just want to have fun. So if any of that resonates with any of you guys, please do continue watching this video. Like this video also, it gives me good feedback, and let's get started. 2 questions that I want to tackle really quickly. Someone asked me if I have a die book. I actually do. I will not be going over this book in detail on this video because it's already about to be lengthy, but as you can see, my dies are organized. I was also asked about my bookcases. They are from IKEA. Which 2 in particular, I have to look up and let you guys know. And I did do little tweaks to them, so I'll be going over that also in another video. But do know that's where they're from. I just don't have time, you guys. I'm trying to do like everything. All right, so the first thing that you're going to do is writing out what your end goal is, because from that end goal, you can figure out what you need to do to get there. You also have it as a reference if you ever get confused. And again, you can also use it for motivation, because I'm going to tell you right now, the flame of excitement will die down as you're doing this project. It's like a mountain you have to climb. So if you're ever surrounded by your supplies, take a second, just take a breath and go back to the notes that you made for yourself to help ground yourself, basically. Up next, I reviewed my storage system. As you saw in my video from last year, I had a system in place, and it did work to a degree, but I had to slightly accommodate my new need this year. I asked myself, and you guys should ask yourselves also, how is your current system working? Is it a just now storage system? Like, is it temporary, or is it your dream storage system? Do you have enough space for your inventory? Are the items you need accessible? Is your space functional? I also mentioned functionality in regards to my die machines and how they're more so aesthetic because my electronic die machine is literally within arm's reach. You also have to think about, like, do you have any shoulder problems? Do you have any limitations that you need to implement? Can you actually reach for things? Can you squat? Can you bend? Is that a problem? All of that needs to be taken into consideration. And I found that addressing my storage solution was absolutely key in having this project be completed. So then following that, I assessed my supplies. I pulled every bin, opened every drawer. I inspected, destashed, decluttered. You guys, you name it, I went through it. Now, I did find some things that I wanted to part with automatically. But then there were some things I was just completely fine with. Now, you might, as you're actively stamping, come to things that you're like, you know what, I don't want that, and you'll get rid of it, and that's completely fine. Now, this next step that I'm going to advise you guys on is one I wish I'd done, but I did not. After you figure out what you're going to keep, the bins you're going to put it in, I would advise you go ahead and start your themes list. This here is an Essentials by Ellen stamp set, absolutely adorable. This contains so many themes, and what you want to do is give your stamp set a really good look, and you want to write it down. So, for me, looking at this stamp set, I see cookies, kitchen, baked goods, a person, but I put people, Christmas, due to this little cute piece here, sentiments, because there's a load of sentiments on here, school, because anybody remember like home economics? When they also like taught you how to bake and such, I figure this would also be great in that section. And then any other themes that you can think of from this set, you can go ahead and list, and that way you have a jump start on your sections. So basically, you just want to get a sheet of paper or your tablet and get that list going. Now, what you also want to remember is your theme list might be different from someone else's because your stamp choices and your purchases may be different. Again, you need to do what's best for you. So, for example, if you're sorting through stamps, trying to figure out what you want to keep, and you come to, example, a flower stamp, like this one here, you can go ahead and write down flowers, or you can write florals. Some people do like the fauna flora thing, whatever you like. If you're particular, you can either write roses or hydrangeas. This here is a poinsettia stamp set, so I could also write down poinsettias. And I do love poinsettias. I do actually own a few of these stamp sets. And because I love them, I am going to store them as they are, which is as a poinsettia, which technically, okay, poinsettias, they're not a flower, they're actually a shrub, which, yeah, it's okay. Anyhow, outside of that, I would actually store this in the Christmas section also. Now, you do not need to write your themes more than once. If you see something fall into the same theme, that's it. You just want to leave that there. But for example, this here, this also has like a banner. There's this little bell here. Well, the little bells with a ribbon, really cute. But this as a whole, this would be in Christmas for me. But it could also fall under Christmas sentiments. So I would put Christmas sentiments. So when you're looking at a section as a whole, like if I go through my Christmas binder, you're going to see Christmas, but you're also going to see a Christmas sentiment section. If you like deer, for instance, you can also put deer. But that deer would also be under Christmas because the two, in my brain, they just go together. However, for someone else, they might put hunting. And then they might have a deer section in hunting also. Again, you want to do what works for your brain. And what I find beneficial is to write down how I think about a stamp set, because quite literally, I'm in my happy place and I want to immediately just go to something with how I remember it. However, one of the benefits to the catalog, again, is if we forget, which sometimes we do because of things having multiple themes, and we want to have it in those areas. So just to show you guys where I put my poinsettia, Christmas, Valentine's Day, both remind me of the color red, or rather the color red reminds me of those themes. So that's why I chose this binder. And I love this poinsettia petals set here. Now the selling point for me was not the sentiments. The sentiments are nice, but I don't have them separately in a sentiment section because they're okay. But everything else I love. So here is my poinsettia section. And as you can see, I have poinsettias by different companies. Also, none of my stamps are themed by solely companies. It is literally by image and style. So I'll explain that also later in this video. Poinsettias, some poinsettias, just love it. So that's in Christmas, the floral section. Ta-da! So as you can see, 2 different books, 2 different areas for themes. Again, poinsettia is technically a shrub, not a flower, but it doesn't matter. All right, so that's how that is done. Now to touch on organizing my stamps again, for items where I had an abundant amount of stamps, I went by brand and then theme and then size. And same goes for my Stampin' Up! Stamps. These are all by theme primarily, and the size, they're all the same size, except for my new stamps. Following that step, I started making a shopping list. As you can see, lists and brainstorming are really important. I did not own a binder. I didn't even know if I wanted a binder or a scrapbook. I didn't know how many scrapbooks or binders I actually needed. I knew I needed ink refills and cardstock, but you guys, literally the exact amounts, it was just like beyond me. I felt like I couldn't even really guess right. It was just something I had to figure out as I was going along. So this here's the step where you want to go through, walk through the process of what you need and literally buy extra materials in these categories that you're going to put into place, especially if you have a lot of stamps, or if you just want to have some and it's within your budget, just so as you build and grow your stash, you can already grab those items to go ahead and build on your stamp catalog. Now, first off, you need to decide if you want a scrapbook or a binder. Aside from size, you want to think about color. So like initially I purchased 4 black 12 by 12 scrapbooks, and I did not even think about how much I would hate how this black clashed with all the color I have. You guys, I didn't even think about it. And this was my last Joann's purchase. I know, so sad. I was so sad. And here's the bag to prove it. My last Joann's bag. How sad. So unfortunately, because I did not like how these black binders looked just sitting with all of my items, I went ahead and I had to reinvest in more binders that were vibrant in color, colors that I loved, because it just made me more excited, quite honestly, more excited to be in my craft space, more excited to look at the items that are housed inside. Now, this does not mean I have everything that I want, because I don't. I still need to replace 2 of the black binders that I have. However, binders cost money. I cannot afford that right now. But it's just a piece for you guys to think about. Again, this just makes me want to look and play. And I also did like a color association. Like blue reminds me of ocean, babies, laundry. You see where I'm going with this? And then I have brown. I store my retro stamps, trees and mountains, snow, fencing, camping, s'mores. All of that is inside of this, because when I think of the color brown, literally that's what I think of, those areas. I think about fall. I think about farms. I think about s'mores, being outside, dried leaves, all that fun stuff. That's what I go to. Next, you're going to need some refill pages for your binder. Now, sometimes your binder is going to come with like 5 or 10 pages. That's a joke. You're going to need way more. Okay. So I think mine came with like I just said, 5 or 10. Literally what you want to do is buy a bunch of refill sheets. I'm just going to be honest. If you see a sale on the 25 refill sheet pack, or if you see the 60, I say get them, especially if you have a coupon. The coupon makes it a great deal. This is one of the refill packs that I have, coupons and discounts on these items. So this was like a 60 set pack, and the ones I purchased did have the white inserts already in the cardstock, but there were a couple packs, or the sheets that came with the binder, I believe, that did not have the white cardstock inserted. So it's just the plastic by itself. I'm going to tell you right now, it's more costly to get the clear sheets that don't have the inserts and then have to go and buy the white cardstock to put inside. I am completely fine with the thin piece of cardstock that's inside of here, because I just took my copies and glued them. Well, not glued them. I taped them on, and it's holding up well. Like, I don't need this to be quality paper at all. Now, like I mentioned in my other video, there are some stamp catalog makers who stamp directly on their sheet of cardstock. And in that case, maybe you do want a good quality, piece of material, but that is going to get costly rather quickly. And I'll also make note of that, because I did stamp on my 80-pound Nina cardstock for every stamp, unless I ran out and resorted to purchasing the pack from Michael's, which was like 60 pounds, or yeah, I think it was like 60 pounds. It's okay. It did the job in a pinch until my Nina came in the mail. I would say that I went through a decent amount of refills. These are just some. I did not keep all of them. Like I said before, I wasn't even sure I was going to make a video about this process. The response has been absolutely surprising. So that's awesome. But as you can see, I used a lot of the 60 refill count for the scrapbook pages. Like this alone, this one was also from Joann's. See? My little last Joann's purchase. So I bought a few of these as a starter, and then I just said screw it. And then I started buying the 60 sheets of the Recollections refill pages because the deal was just way better. All right, so I would definitely say overestimate because you can just have these and not have to worry about them. Now that we have the book out of the way, all the supplies that you need for your stamp catalog, your stamp binder, we're going to go through the supplies you need for actually stamping. Now, if you're a stamper, you might already own all of these things, which is fantastic. But if you don't fret. I'm going to go through basically what I use to stamp with on a day-to-day basis. First thing you're going to need is a stamp positioner tool or positioning tool. Now, there are a lot of options on the market, two of which that I have are discontinued. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, why do you own 3? Technically, I own 4. I own this in a quartz also. It's really beautiful. I purchased these when they came out. I thought they would be of great benefit to my stash. The one thing you want to be able to do, I honestly believe, is you want to be able to restamp your images, your sentiments, your stamped, because 80% of my stamps were being stamped for the first time. Like, quite literally. Like, most of my stash was just sitting. It was beautiful. A part of my goal was just to be able to use my things, have access to them, and I decided I wanted to own and use, not just own and look. So I basically was conditioning my items, and some of the items also, they just needed to be restamped due to product residue, or I was pressing too lightly the first time without really thinking about it. Maybe my ink pad was running out. I needed to, re-ink, or I did not have any ink and I just needed to just press until I finally got a good image, because sometimes, it's just like that. So for this, I started with my Misty, but I ended up using my Tim Holtz Tonic stamping platform. And as you can see, it's still a bit dirty. I did clean it a few times throughout, but this thing went through it, and I'll talk about that also later in the video. This was the best platform for me. This here is the old Stampin' Up platform, and I think this is also pretty neat too. I love this feature, but due to its size, it really was not the best for my project. So definitely invest in one of these. I will also state, having a platform with a door, quite honestly, is the best for this project. I am team door all day. Next on the list is ink refills. I absolutely love the Gina K ink. This is like a standard in my stamp stash. It works really well for Copic coloring. I love stamping with it. It dries really quickly. I underestimated how much ink I was actually going to go through stamping so many stamp sets. By the way, if you did not know, I did not know that I owned over 2,000 stamps exactly until I actually stamped everything out. So that 2,000 plus is real. So while I was thinking, me and my extra ink pad were going to be best friends forever and last, no, we did not. And I vastly underestimated how much ink I actually needed. Yeah, these are all empty bottles, and there were a couple more, but like I said, I wasn't expecting to make this video, so I only came to a certain point and saved. These are all empty. And when I ran out of ink, I wanted to cry, scream, and there was actually a point where I was trying to do a refill on my order, and they were sold out, and I could not find them anywhere. Like, around Thanksgiving, Christmas, it is absolutely impossible to get this ink. So when I was able to order again, I made sure that this was not going to be a problem again. I literally am making sure I never run out of ink ever again in my life. Although I will never have this intense project again. So I would advise stocking up on the ink you want. Get a little more than you think. Now, when I did run out of ink, I ended up going to Michael's. This was actually a gift in one of the Stamp Timber or Tim Holtz sets that I purchased. But I did go to Michael's and I did get this archival ink. I used a coupon. I'm going to be honest, the way this dries is a little lighter than the Gina K ink. It gives you like a really dark, crisp black, but this just kind of fades just a tad. And I personally did not like how that looked. So I knew what I liked, what I loved, and I think I only stamped a couple stamps with this. And then I just like, you know, took my little ink pad. I did all the tricks. I ran my breath over it. I just pressed repeatedly and stamped. Yeah, I did all the things until I finally got some in the mail. Now, one trick that you can do and that I did do was I stored my ink bottles upside down just so I could get every single bit of ink out of them because I was like desperate. That was an interesting lesson to learn, that you'll go through a lot of ink doing a lot of stamping. So another note, if you did not watch my last video, was the reason why I decided to stamp on a piece of cardstock and then make a copy and then put it in the different themes is because if I ever want to get rid of a stamp set, I can just go in, pull out that stamped copied image and get rid of it. And I have not done any damage whatsoever to my page. I don't have like an X there or scribbles. My type A personality would not be able to stand it. I saw a couple makers that went ahead and, you know, stamped, like I said, directly onto the page. And then there were some X's in some places. I just do not like that look. I just want my book to just be very clean. I want things to be easy to move around. Say, for instance, I get a new taco stamp set and I think the look goes better with this style here. I want to place that there. I'm going to be able to take this and move my stamps over. And again, this is just removable adhesive. Move that over, take this, place this down. And then I have a new spot for a different stamp set. And I have not impacted the integrity of my pages. And it's just really nice and clean to look at. There's no chaos. I get enough chaos at work, you guys. There's already too much chaos. Like I already mentioned, I used repositionable tape to hold down my items and my stamp catalogs. You want to choose the best adhesive for you. Now, I decided to go with removable tape because quite literally, as you saw, I can just pick something up, move it over even after months of the item being affixed down. It's absolutely awesome. Now, I literally used a glue stick only once, and that was at work when I ran out of removable tape and I could not get to the store. Let me tell you, the way it causes a wave in the paper, I absolutely hated it. I do not advise. Another adhesive I would not go with would be my liquid glue. And again, that's because it just leaves a little bit of a wave on the paper, and because it is printer paper, because again, I made a copy of the stamped image on a piece of cardstock, it caused the paper again to have that slight bow and wave, so liquid was not the way to go for me. Now, these are just a few of the ones that I did use. I did go through 2 other packs of this. This was just what I remembered to save because I'm like, you know what, I think I'll make a video. But again, you want to use a coupon when you buy this stuff. It is expensive. I think this Tombow is like $15, and even with a coupon, it is still up there. And I bought this just because the 3-pack wasn't available, and I did not want to buy it off Amazon. Like, I ran up to Michael's because I needed it like right now. So again, it's better to be prepared. But if you're not prepared because you're new to something, it's okay. It's all right. Now, you probably wouldn't think that printer paper would be on this list, but it is. So I purchased a couple packs of this, and that's because when I stamped items like this set here, B2-5 for instance, you see all of these hearts? This is pretty much a solid stamp. And for that, the ink really, like there's so much ink on here and it really sticks on. Using my stamped chamois is great, but this stamped chamois is so small, wiping that over, that ink over and over. I had to clean this a few times, and I was going to make that one stamped chamois I owned last an eternity. That actually segues into my original stamped chamois, which is this one here. And as you can see, there's holes in it, and pieces have actually come off of it. I use this for like 90% of my stamps when I stamp them and clean them. And this thing, once the pieces started coming off, I knew I needed to purchase another one. And I love the Lawn Fawn stamped chamois, so I just replaced it. But you can see here the name wore off also. So basically my thought was, instead of using my chamois over and over, I just needed to give it a break. And I took a piece of printer paper, and after I stamped, I would go ahead and stamp on the sheet of paper and then kind of wipe the stamp off a little bit. And then I would clean it with my stamped chamois and my spritz. To me, that made an absolutely huge difference. Following that, I ended up using invisible tape. This is just not sitting here being pretty. It actually served a purpose. Now, this invisible tape I discovered was going to be better than my magnet on, and you might have seen I have a piece on here too that's just stuck. That's one of the things that happened while I was stamping. There we go. But one of the things I did is I used tape to hold down my stamp over my magnets, because quite honestly, this was kind of in the way to me. I felt like just using a piece of tape was a lot easier, and I'll show you guys how I used it when I go to stamp out my new stamp sets. I also used a piece repeatedly until it disintegrated, so I would also suggest you guys do the same to save some money. I did already hint at stamp cleaner. I did have to buy a couple of these, and this I used the rest of almost. This is pretty much water in here. So yes, if you're wondering, I do water down my stamp cleaner to save money. Not dramatically. I'd say about like 20% of the bottle gets watered down, and my stamps get cleaned. I've heard about people using baby wipes to clean their stamps. I learned a long time ago that that was not good for your stamps. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why. And I'm not about to spend money on baby wipes when, again, I can just water down this stamp cleaner that I can already use a coupon on. I think it just comes out cheaper, so it's just not something that I use. Black Sharpies are next, and these were actually used in conjunction with my Avery L multi-use labels. Now, I just walked into Office Depot or Office Max. I can't remember which one is close to me, and I just bought what was in stock. I just came to the point where I knew I was going to label my stamp sets, and I just looked at these and I was like, okay, these will do the job. So as you can see, as far as sizing goes, the sizes are decent. And then me using the Sharpie, again, you want to get the fine point Sharpie. I said thin. You want the fine point Sharpie just because the other Sharpie is like a little too large. And if you're writing it by hand, which I wanted to do just to personalize it more, plus I was not going to pay for a label maker because I already invested too much in this project. So I'm like, by hand it is. Plus I can also write out the labels while I was at work on break or something like that. You don't have that large of a real estate on this small label, so you just want to be careful with your felt tip. Used was a pencil. As you see in my stamp catalog, I decided to write on the stamp the numbers, like where the stamp is located, in pencil because I like being able to erase things. I wasn't sure I was going to love writing in a pencil or having the location of a stamp in the corner, or if I wanted at the bottom of the sheet. I don't know. So I did it in pencil. The whole book's in pencil. I don't know if I'll change it. I've seen where other people have their stamps labeled with a red marker, things like that. But I didn't like the red against the black. I thought the red was too stark. So anyways, I also use this eraser tip here for conditioning my stamps sometimes. So if you don't know, sometimes when you get a stamp set, you might have to run an eraser. Some people use other tools, but there might be like little particles on the back of your stamp, the byproduct from it being created. And if you go to stamp, you might have like a dot or an impression on your sheet of paper that's abnormal. When you flip the stamp over, if you run an eraser lightly over the stamp itself, you might remove some of that product, and then your stamp can stamp more cleanly. Post-it notes are another great thing to purchase. Like I said, I love making little task lists, so I would use that for that. You also want to have something to use as a bin marker. So if you come to a stopping point with a bin, all you have to do is use your sticky note, affix it to your bin, and you can see your progress. That's literally what I did. And believe me, seeing a wall full of sticky notes is so much better than just looking and not knowing if you finished a section or not. We have the cutter. So this is my paper cutter. As you can see, it is old. I've had this for, I don't know. I know it's been over like 5 years. Yeah, I've had this for a long time, you guys. It's still sharp. I still have yet to sharpen this, and it cuts through my paper just fine. So what I ended up doing was taking my cardstock, which is another thing you're going to need. You're going to need whatever cardstock you want to use. So I ended up stamping all of my stamped images on a majority of the Nina Classic Crest Solar White 80 Smooth. I ran out at one point, and I ended up using the Recollections, which I purchased from Michaels. Again, Michaels was like my go-to. Okay, I need to use something right now while I'm waiting for my replenishments to come in the mail. I used this, the 65-pound white Recollections cardstock, and it was okay. I ended up just going with the Nina because that's what I stamp on. I wanted to see my items actually stamped out on the cardstock that I want to see how they would look. And then from there, making a copy on the printer paper was fine because I originally saw, again, the type of material that I'm actually going to be using on a daily basis when I create. And I went through some paper, you guys. Not the cheapest option by far. You need to do what's best for you. If Recollections is better for you, do you. That's totally fine. So what I did was I took a sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11, and I just went ahead and cut it in half here. And that's what I use to stamp out my images. And lastly, something I can't show is a copy machine. So you either want to have somewhere where you can make copies or go to Kinko's, which is going to be costly. I don't know if they have discounts or anything, but you're going to want to make copies of your stamped images. Again, I'm going to show you guys that. Now, the goal of going through all of your items, knowing what you need, is so that you can set up your space and you can stamp with ease and efficiency. And that's also how I like my space set up in general. As you can see my layout here, it is done so in a way that's conducive to me having a good time stamping and being able to find what I need. My inks here, my refills here, my chamois here, my cleaners here. If I need tape, I have tape. If I need glue, my glue gun's here. I'm right-handed. I can use my left hand, but I'm right-handed. So when I want to use glue or tape, it's easier for me to just grab it with my right hand. How I set up my desk, my work area, is by the means in which it flows for me to create easier. So you guys should too. Like, use my glue or tape, put it back. Use my tape, put it back. Use my eraser, put it back. So just easy peasy. And I can just also grab things from my little carousel also that's stacked over here. And if you notice from my past craft videos, I used to have a really small area to create with. I am grateful for this larger area, and it just makes crafting so much easier. All right, so after you have all of your materials together, everything ready, what I'm going to advise next, which I did later on, but I think would be good now, is once you have your bins together, so you know that this theme for this stamp is absolutely solid. For example, this here is one of my Valentine's theme bins, so everything in here is Valentine's Day related. So at this stage, once you have all your supplies together and you're about to start, what I'm going to say you should do, which I did not do, but I wish I did, was go ahead and label your bins. Because at this point, you should have already gone through your items. You've inspected, you've destashed, you have everything ordered by size, company, theme, primary theme is how I stored my items. If you want to do secondary theme, be my guest. But for me, primary theme, which is you looking at your stamp and saying, okay, wedding, which reminds me of Valentine's Day, love. This stamp here, the sentiments, the hearts, Valentine's Day, love. This is my Valentine's section. So these items are going into the Valentine's theme, and you're going to go ahead and label your bin. Now, my bins don't have numbers on them, but I know the rows and the numbers automatically when I look at them. And this bin is B2. And that's because I chose an alphanumeric system for my bins. So I looked at my shelving and I decided I'm going to go A for the top, B, this would be C, but I labeled this LF because all of the stamps here are lawn fawn. The next one, I went to C, and then D, so on and so forth. The next one over, that's F. This up here was E. However, I ended up moving all the stamps I had up there, so E actually got moved, and I might talk about that in this video, or I'll talk about another one, but I'll talk about changing your areas, your order. Now, I chose an alphanumeric system just because for me, that's what I felt was best. And if you want to make little labels for your bins, go ahead. I personally did not need them, so I don't have them. All right, so after you've labeled your bin, if you would like to, you have all of your stamps organized by primary theme, how you want to store them, and by size, or brand, theme, and size. You want to put on your hard hat and call yourself a quality control inspector. Now, this step is why I do not photocopy my stamp sets or my packaging and just put it inside of my binder. I need to see if the stamp performs as it should or if it's defective. That requires me to put in some work. And literally this exercise, me creating these binders and catalogs, just proved that to me. Out of over the 2,000 stamp sets that I have, I found less than 5 defective stamp sets. And because I'm out of the return window, you know, by some years, I'd have to repurchase the item. Like 2 are from companies that are still around, which is great, but again, I'm not going to email the company and be like, hey, this stamp's defective, and it's been like 5 or 6 years. Like, that's my fault because I didn't do the check. Now, I will say I have had companies stand by their work and send me stamps where I've gone ahead and stamped it out, and it's, you know, within, hey, I just got this in the mail. You can see I just ordered it. There's an error here. I've had no problems with companies standing by, again, their product and sending me something new, which is fantastic. Now, I did want to show why I don't photocopy. Let me move this. So with the copier that I have access to, because that's all I'm using, I went ahead and I photocopied this piece of cake stamp set. And I don't like how this looks. Like, yeah, the main image is fine, but all of this here is just not it's not appealing to me, and I don't want to just cut around here because, again, the case is just, it just looks ugly. Again, that's just to me. This here is a copy of my Lawn Fun stamp. And this is just me taking this again and putting it face down. Now, I know you can, you know, change the color and do a bunch of other things. I'm not putting in that much work. And I'm not the only one using this copy machine. The stampede you guys just heard are my two cats. They were fighting. Hey, you guys. Stop it. So this is how this looks. And again, that's not visually appealing to me. Next up, I have this beautiful pet stamp set here. And this is, you know, new to me, probably not new to thee. But I've actually wanted this for a few months, and I'm glad this was still up on the person's website because Just Right Stamps, I think they're out of business, but yeah, the copyright for this, I don't even see a year, but it's just so cute. I love it so much. Anyhow, bought this, made the copy. Now this looks a little bit better than the Lawn Fawn, but still, I did the same method, got two different results. But again, I have like all of the packaging and such. I want to see how the stamps actually stamp out. Am I getting a quality product? Am I getting a defective product? That's what's important. And I want to see the items true to size, which again, is not a problem for the copy, but it's still, it's like, you know, marrying someone. Like, am I getting what I thought I was getting? I know that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing. I also went ahead and copied this from the back, and this is how that looked. So again, you can't really make out the sentiments really well. You know, I was just not impressed with the copies. Now, if you compare the copies that I made, the photocopies, to the stamped out copies, and this was me pressing a whole bunch. I was pretty much over it. This stamp does actually stamp well, but I just went a little bit too hard, and that's why I went and left those on there. I'm not adverse to using that stamp at all, unless I would have made like a little note like, hey, don't use. Now, if you see this compared to these two, this looks so nice. And this, well, but these are the copies. Which would you rather have in your stamp binder? Personally, I like the look from this. This, you know, this is the copy of this, but I like this look better. So that is why I choose to have the stamped out image. And as you can tell, just by the way the paper moves, this is printer paper, and this is that, you know, cardstock. Very different. All right, so I did stamp out a couple of my new stamps, as you can tell, but I still have a few that I'm going to show you guys so you can see that process. But after I stamp out the stamp, because again, I want to see how the product is going to perform and make sure I'm happy with the quality. As I'm stamping, again, you can check your themes list if you would like to make sure you have all the themes covered. Let's look this one over really quickly. For this set here, I would choose Congrats. That's kind of generic. That can be used for a lot of different things, in addition to the pet sentiments. So I'm going to actually put this in my sentiment section because it pertains to more than one item or event. Obviously, we have pets, but if you want to get particular and you have certain sections, you can do dogs, you can do cats. I mean, fur baby, what if you have a pet llama? I mean, you could put llama if you have a pet llama. You know, you can keep it generic with pets or just get more specific. The happy birthday script is also really beautiful. I love that. So I would also put that in birthday. So we have pets, birthday. on the new addition to your family. So that can go for baby. So you can use that outside of, again, these areas here. I would put that in my baby section. So I have it in sentiments, but I also have it in baby. So I know if I'm just flipping through because I'm trying to look for inspiration, or if I'm looking for a particular area, it'll be in all of those sections, just like if you had an electronic catalog and you went ahead and typed in babies, all-encompassing stamp section, sentiment section, things like that. I think I have everything covered. All you need is love, and I do love that also. I'm actually going to also put this in Valentine's Day. And that's because I know I can use this part here and loved. And I can use the all you need is love and a. You can add so many different sentiments on the end here, and it would be great to have it in the Valentine's Day section to go ahead and use like on a whim. All right, so just from one stamp set, we have tons of options, but for primary theme, as far as where I would store this stamp, it's going to be my pets theme section. So I would go over here to pets, which is actually with my florals. So I'm just going through and I'm looking for a spot where I can place this stamp. So I like to go according to size, and I think me placing it right here would be the perfect height. So I'm going to take out the stamp before it, and I am going to open up my stamp set. I'm going to use one of my Avery L, I keep saying Avery L, my Avery multi-use labels and my black Sharpie. And I'm going to say that this is going to be H1-20. Now you also want to check after this stamp to make sure you don't already have a stamp that's going to be numbered, the number after this one. So the next stamp is H1-21, so I'm safe to number this stamp H1-20, and then I'm going to put a little 1 right there at the top, like an exponent. And I don't want to cover the company. I try not to if I can help it, but I just need to be able to see all of my little label. So this is how I add a new stamp into my system. Without causing any confusion. What I'm going to do with the copies that I made, based upon the list that I made, I need to make a few more. So what you guys want to do after you number your stamp sets, you want to write that number in pencil on your copies, like this here. That's in pencil, it's pet. So like I can erase it. I just write at the bottom of my copies where I want the pages to go, which is monumental. You're going to have piles of paper all over. If you don't write down where these are going, where they're assigned to, kind of like your money, you're going to be so lost and upset and angry, it's not even going to be funny. So this one says pet, this one says sentiment. Obviously, I need to make some more copies. And for the copies, what you can do is you can go through your little list you just made, and you can cross off what you do have and what you still need. So based upon these, I would still need 3 more copies. So I could take this little sticky note here and place it on this page go and make those copies and know that I need 3, or I can just write 3 here and go make those copies. But again, you want to have this on your original themes list so that you know you already have themes in that area. All right, and now we already have a number on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and write the location of this stamp. Now you guys are probably wondering, what do I do with the cardstock piece? I actually have a binder with just every single stamp that I own. There's no copies or anything. It is solely just the cardstock portion. These are kind of more like historical. Does that make sense? Maybe I should have been a librarian. I don't know. All right, so now everything is numbered. I know I have copies to make, but I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to store this. And for example, the pet section, just so you get a gist for that. And just to show you guys how seamless this was integrated, we're going to look, and there's easy peasy. Now, after you do the stamping, copying, and writing down where it's actually going to be located, as far as the themes go, again, you want to have the items added onto your themes list unless it's already covered. The easiest way to go about getting your items arranged to be put in the binder is to list the theme at the bottom of the copy page. So each page will have the different theme listed. And that's so you can take that one copied page, put that with the other themes that it matches with at the bottom. Next, I noted each theme from the theme list on a folded sheet of paper and placed the corresponding copied sheets within it. So like example, it said pets. I would take the sheet of pets, put it there. The next one was probably gingerbread men or whatever. I would put that there, or like this one, birthday, I would put this with birthday. When I was burnt out and I'm like, okay, I can't stamp anymore, I marked my bin with a sticky note. I came to a good stopping point. I took all of my pets section, I opened it up, and then I organized it by style. I did not immediately just jump into placing these pieces into a binder, because I needed to have my items visually appealing before I put them into the binder. All right. So my pet section is broken up into dogs and cats, and kind of in between I have like the both arena. So I would take out my pets section, take out all the sheets. I literally would lay the pieces out on the floor because, again, you guys, I'm working with over, like I said, over 2,000 stamps. But I think for each section, I don't know, maybe I was working, honestly, I can't even estimate. I just know that there was a lot of pieces of paper and I was super burnt out. So just imagine all of these sheets of paper on the ground. Just imagine they're all on the ground, and you're going piece by piece and just matching the styles together so that when you put them in the book, it's appealing to your eye. That's pretty much what I was doing. So like, as you can see here, anything with like solid stamps or bold print, my eyes were just like, I like that. I want that grouped together. Anything with like thin lines, again, different companies. These are two completely different companies. But as you can see, the artistry, like the way they're drawn, is kind of similar. So my eyes just group them together. Same here. These are all by the same company. But the bold, it all needs to be together. So that's how I organized my piles. And then I looked at the sheet of paper, so the amount of real estate on a blank piece of cardstock or piece of paper. I would just really say this is paper, not really cardstock. And I basically just put the pieces down and I just moved them to fit the area that I had here. And I also took into consideration both sheets of paper because I didn't really want vastly different styles right next to one another. Like if I needed to leave a sheet blank, I just left it blank. I think I might have one. Yeah, like here. Like when I transition to the next piece, as you can see here, this is a mix of dogs and cats. So I just put these two together. But I did not want to have like half of this on this page. Visually, this is more appealing. I hope that makes sense. So that's going to take some work, just letting you know. You might end up moving a piece from one side to another side, and that's okay. At the end of the day, you need to put your stamps together in a way that makes you happy. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Oops. And see, nothing is 100%. Sometimes my books come apart a little bit, but I pretty much got the hang of like how to flip it and it be okay. So this is like a cat section. Absolutely. And to me, this is beautiful. Like I see this and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. And oh my gosh, I really need to play with those cats. So yeah. All right. So I'm looking at this one piece and I need to add this into my catalog. So I'm just figuring out where I want to put this. Now this is more like a sentiment. And when I see this, my mind kind of goes to cats, but it's for both. Since it's for both, I'm going to place it here and I'm looking at this against this and the style, it's on par. I think it's beautiful. I'm going to erase the little sentiment I wrote there. And just to know, if it's going to take you eternity to erase, you don't have to. And one thing I also did when I was like super tired, I would take the sheet and just shove it into the page with all the other pages. Like if I had 5 pages and I knew it was going into this theme, but I just didn't feel like doing it, I would shove them all inside and leave a couple pages blank. And then I would take the book with me, you know, to whatever randomly. And then I would go ahead and organize, take a pair of scissors with me and take my little tape, because all you need is tape and a pair of scissors and you can cut this down. And as long as, again, you put some extra sheets in here, you can figure out how you want your layout to be and get that organized while you're doing something else. I'm all about multitasking, you guys, if you can. So for this, I'm not going to cut it down or anything. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. If I end up with a few more stamps, so be it. As you saw, I just took my repositional tape. I ran it on here a couple times. And due to me not having anything else to place here, I'm putting it right in the middle. And again, repositionable tape. Easy to move items if I need to. And how cool is that? Done. And that took no time at all. Now, you definitely want to keep in mind when you're doing this and you're having your pals all over the place. Again, I'm working with a small space. My living room, my craft room is a part of my living room. So therefore it is my craft room. So I pretty much was utilizing every bit of space, every countertop, and you just got to take that into consideration when you're actually working and thinking about others in your space. I pretty much told the cats and my husband, you can't touch any of this. My cats were kind of sitting on things at times and I had to shoo them. I'm grateful for the project to be over. No one in this house will forget about it at all. I most definitely won't forget, nights of scrubbing my hands of ink and the ink not coming off, and the pain of also physically stamping stamps repeatedly, because it happens. And a couple of times I did get paper cuts too. It was some work, you guys. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how I go about stamping out the stamps. This is the most efficient way. Literally, it's such a time saver, and this is how I got through all of my stamp stash. I took a sheet of Nina, the Solar White 80, and I cut the 8.5 by 11 in half, literally just into 2 pieces. I have some stamps here. These are some of my new stamps that I've yet to stamp, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp them on camera with you guys, just to show you why I chose to use the Tonic stamp platform. Actually, I need more pieces than this. So one of the things I did is I would count out my stamp sets. Once I was more than halfway through this process, I realized what I needed to do. So I would take each one of these, and I'm like, okay, that'll fit on half a piece of cardstock. So 2 stamps this size, the 4x6, would take up 1 sheet of cardstock. These are new Stampin' Up! Sets, but even with the old Stampin' Up! Sets, half a sheet of cardstock would also be enough. So for the new one, those are dies. I'm also going to say I need 1 other sheet, so that would be 2 sheets. And then this Stampers Anonymous red rubber stamp. If you're new to stamping, these are photopolymer stamps. So these clear stamps are photopolymer. There are acrylic stamps, and I only own I think honestly less than 10 by some companies that are acrylic. But if you haven't noticed, all of my stamps are branded. I just like supporting small companies, also like supporting local companies. Some of the big companies like Simon Says Stamp, which I think they're still kind of small. They're so personal. I love them. But anyhow, photopolymer and red rubber are my primary stamps, but companies are starting to shy away from red rubber, and I think it's due to accessibility of the material and the cost. But quite literally, the image, the impression that you get from red rubber is phenomenal. And if I have the option, I would continue to buy it. Stampin' Up! Unfortunately, is phasing out, or they have phased it out, red rubber. So that's a bit sad. For the Tim Holtz, as you can see, it barely gets all of the image. And one of the things I love about this platform is that I can place the whole stamp, even larger stamps that aren't by Tim Holtz. I can place the whole thing on the platform and stamp it out. And that's what I want to do. I want to stamp quickly. I don't want to have to take each item, each piece of my stamp. I'll just remove this just for sake of the video, if you've never seen a rubber stamp before. So what you do is you just take the rubber and you remove it. And this, you have to flip so that it says rubber here. And then you place it down, the part that's going to actually ink up and stamp. You put that face down. It affixes to this portion here, and then you can stamp. Do you know how long it would take to get through over 2,000 stamps if I had to do that? Yeah, I don't have that kind of time. It was not happening. So I needed to find a way to put the whole thing down and stamp. And same goes with some of my Stampin' Up! Stamps that are just like this. But I'll show you how I do that. Let me go get some more paper. So basically I just needed 3 sheets of cardstock for this. And then I have my ink pad. I have my tape. That's important. I'm just going to set that to the side. I am going to just go ahead and ink this up, just because I'm not sure the last time off the top of my head I actually did so. So if you don't know how to re-ink your ink pad, you're just going to squeeze your ink, and I just do it in circles, kind of closely together on my pad. And you can see your pad actually absorbing the ink. To me, that's an indicator if it's dry or not, like if it really wanted that ink. But you don't want to oversaturate your pad, because then that's when things can become like a little bit squishy. You could put too much ink on your stamp. And what I do is take this nozzle piece here and just press that ink in and kind of move it around into the pad to help distribute the ink. And usually I go over it twice, unless my pad's like really, really thirsty, which I can tell by, again, how quickly the ink is absorbed. I think I should title this master class or something, because I'm talking about all sorts of things here. All right. Now, again, you probably can, I mean, aside from eBay, you probably won't be able to find this platform. And because I love it so much, I did purchase the second one. Halfway through this project, I realized just how much this platform is literally amazing. So when I say I purchased a second one, I did, and I'm hoping it lasts me my lifetime. So these are the magnets it originally comes with. I decided not to use the magnets just because, again, as you're going to see, the tape is better. So whatever platform you're using, you just want to make sure the size is right for what you're stamping. And again, I'm team platform door all day. I just stamp. All right, so I'm just going to make sure it's on the right size. So we're going to do rubber. This is how I stamp quick as heck. I put the tape against my skin to make it a little less sticky. And I'm going to fill up the whole door with the piece of paper. I get rid of some of the stickiness just because I do not want my paper to rip. And I just get all points of the universe, basically. Then I'm going to take my stamp here, this Stampers Anonymous Tim Holtz stamp, and I'm going to place it down on my platform. I'm going to close the door just to ensure that my piece of cardstock is going to get all of my image. You always want to do your check. And now I'm going to use my tape again to hold down whatever this stamp is housed on. I don't know what it's called. Now, it doesn't matter if you get rid of the stickiness on this. I think I just did it now out of habit, but you don't have to. The whole point is for you to put down enough ink. The whole point is for you to put down enough tape to hold your stamp in place so it does not move or come up. That's usually a problem with photopolymer stamps, not red rubber stamps. These won't come up because they do not stick to the paper. They're not tacky like photopolymer is. Now you're going to take your ink pad and you're going to press gently. The red rubber, the portion that's raised, is the portion that the image is on. So if you are careful to not press too hard, you should not be getting ink on the other parts of the rubber and ruining your page, essentially. So I am just pressing a bit firm, but overall pretty gently, but I'm not like smashing it down. Tap, 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 just tap your life away. Now again, we're using a stamp platform. I'm using a stamp platform, and hopefully if you choose to, you are too. So you can always restamp, and then you're gonna press. If you do have this little, I don't even know, you guys, it's midnight. You guys, it's midnight. I don't even know what this is called, okay? If you have this, you can use this. It's a pressure device. Look how beautiful that is. But you can still see it's a little faded. The impression is not super crisp, and I want it crisp. So I am going to restamp, but again, I am going to be careful to not be overzealous and press extremely hard because I don't want the portions of this stamp that should not be stamped on my sheet. See, a little bit got there, and that's just from my pad touching the side, but that's okay. All right, so now we're just gonna press. And now you can just lift this up and you can peel back the tape. See how I didn't rip the paper? Now save this tape. Just take it and put it on the side of your table because you can use it for the next sheet of paper to hold it down. And you have this beautiful, absolutely beautiful sheet. I love it so much. And then I just sit it off to the side so it can dry. Now, there isn't a lot of solid spots on here. There's some line imaging, but I'm taking my sheet of printer paper, like I said. See all that ink that I just picked up? I'm picking up all of that ink just so I don't have to rinse out my stamp chamois sooner than I need to. All right. And now I'm going to go ahead, I need to actually wet this, and then I'm going to clean that off. All right, so I did wet this, and I'm just spraying it with my little watered down stamp cleaner, which smells like bubble gum. Now I don't want this like overly saturated, because if you make your stamp chamois too wet, when you go to wipe something off, you're gonna end up with just a puddle of water, and we don't want that. Personally, once you stamp something out, you might have a little bit of residue on your image. I try to get it clean as possible, but it's okay. Once you stamp it, it's no longer new. And that's okay. It's fine. That's one of the things I had to come to terms with, and that's also why I wanted to stamp out all of my stamps. Because to me, it's not about the item being new anymore. It's literally about my enjoyment playing with the item, knowing what I have. I just got too consumed with just new. Like that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. And I just wanted to really just focus on contentment. All right, so that's clean. If you want to, you can take your piece again. And now you just lift this up and you pull off the tape. Again, save your tape. And I'm just going to put it on here so you guys can see how I'm going to use it next. That tape is still good. So I'm just going to flip this so that it's unclear. Taking a sheet of cardstock. You want to take off the film. You want to place this down. I usually try to get it towards the middle. I closed this again just to make sure my stamp is going to be in the middle of my piece of paper or wherever you want it to be. You want to take your piece of tape, place it down to hold the edges of your placeholder for your stamps. And you're just putting tape all around, making sure you don't cover any of your pieces, because sometimes I've put tape down over an image and then you see this little tape mark and it's really irritating. Now, usually my pieces of tape aren't so long, but that's because I was using the Tim Holtz one. So you can cut that in half, but I didn't. And now, just gonna go ahead, ink up your stamp. At this point, you can also look to see if there's any product, like residual product, from when it was processed, like created. It might be like sticking up, or you'll find out once you stamp it. Just give it a press, and look at that. And again, this is the first time this is being stamped out, so you can see it does need a second stamp. It just does. And that's the second stamp. That's how it looks. Now, half of this fence here not being done is bothering me, so again, I have no problems with like restamping. I'm just, again, type A, and I'm just gonna lift this up, and literally, look how quick that was, you guys. That took like no time at all. I really love this dragonfly. That's so cute. This set is adorable. All right, so you guys got the gist of it. I'm gonna go ahead and hurry and do the last few. See how cute are these? Now you can take your chamois, your whole one, for the smaller ones like this. This is just what I do. I love making sure my stamps are clean. Now, another thing people were asking me about before I forget is what do I do with the stamps that have dies? Now, for me, if you don't know, I own a Brother Scan and Cut. And this is my beautiful Scan and Cut. I'm very proud of myself for purchasing this. I absolutely love it. I've had it for, I know, definitely over 6 years. Now, I decided to purchase this because I wanted to reduce the cost that I was spending on dies. And I only purchase dies, as I've said in other videos, if they're very intricate and I believe they're super warranted. So for example, you will not see a lot of die sets for my lawn fawn, for example, because I can use my Brother Scan and Cut, or to be honest, sometimes I just fussy cut by hand my images and just use them. But there are some sets like this lawn fawn set here where this adorable little cart, this treat cart, I liked how the inside window was cut out and I cannot easily mimic that with my Brother Scan and Cut. So I purchased the die. And I decided to label the die the same as the stamp set. So they're both LF1-2 and they're right next to one another. I can indicate on my sheet inside of my stamp binder with like an asterisk or something that there is a die that accompanies it. But quite honestly, I have not gotten to that part yet in my catalog. But if you guys want to set up a system like that, if you're following along with this, I would definitely suggest you do so. For companies like Stampin' Up, so inside of my Stampin' Up container, I actually have my dies that fit, of course, because some don't, and the little insert sheet, and they just fit perfectly. I absolutely love it. And I usually don't do too much with dies, so like I said, I'll eventually get around to numbering the pages in my stamp binder to indicate that there are dies that accompany the stamp set, but as of right now, I just have not gotten to that part. And then there's my standalone dies, but of course, I'll go through those in a different video. These do not pair with anything in particular. And there's other sets as well. And I need to go to bed. I do have to work tomorrow. It's day 6 of 6. So that's going to be fun. But I'm really happy. You can see how quickly I went ahead and stamped out all of these amazing stamps. And you guys definitely can do this too. So these are all stamped. And now I can go ahead and make copies of these images, write out the themes, make copies, and then go ahead and put them where they belong in my stamp catalog. I really hope you guys found this video to be informative. It was... going through this process, working through it over 10 months was, if you can't tell, difficult at first, but also fun. I'm very happy for all of the work that I put into my hobby, and it is definitely making these stamp binders and stamp catalogs. It's made crafting so much more fun. I just can't wait to work on some Easter cards and share them with you guys. Please, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you're doing anything different, if you're just motivated to use your electronic catalog, let me know. I'll go ahead, like I said, go over my die book next, and I'll also go over how to store dies and stamps together as well. Please do bear with me. Like I said, I am working a full-time job and a part-time job, and I'm also prepping for my entrance exams. So I'm trying to also enjoy the hobby, share with you guys, and also be a wife and cat mom and, daughter and all that stuff. I'm trying to do a lot, but I'm really happy to share this hobby with you guys. And it's just been super fun since I've, taken it a bit more seriously as far as getting organized. All right. Hope you all do something crafty that makes you happy. I'll talk to you later. Bye.